Introduction: The call to become more harm. There comes a moment when survival is no longer enough. A moment when the routines that once felt safe begin to feel suffocating. A moment when a quiet inner voice grows louder, challenging the notion that this is all life has to offer. That moment is not a breakdown, it is a breakthrough in disguise. It is the call to become more. Most people were never taught how to live fully. They were trained to stay in line, avoid mistakes, and settle for what is familiar. From early childhood, the world told them who to be and how to behave. Parents, teachers, media, and culture passed down scripts, rules for belonging, standards for success, and definitions of worth. Many followed these rules, hoping that doing so would lead to peace or joy. But instead, it led to a quiet restlessness, a gnawing sense that something essential was missing. That sense of discontent is not a flaw. It is evidence of potential that refuses to be buried. It is the soul recognizing that it was made for more than comfort, more than compliance, and more than coping. It is not arrogance to believe that one's life should have meaning. It is awareness. The call to become more is not about greed or ambition. It is about alignment. It is about becoming the version of oneself that was always possible but never fully pursued. This journey does not begin with external changes. It begins with truth, brutal, liberating, confronting truth. The truth about how much one has settled, the truth about the beliefs that have shaped behavior, the truth about the ways fear, shame, and comparison have limited choices. This is not an easy awakening. It requires courage to admit that the life one has built is smaller than the life one is capable of living. But that courage is the beginning of transformation. Personal growth is not a luxury. It is not reserved for the privileged or the enlightened. It is a necessity for anyone who refuses to be defined by limitation. Choosing to grow is choosing to disrupt comfort. It is choosing to disappoint expectations that never truly fit. It is choosing to listen to the deep part of the self that whispers there is more in you. The path of growth is not straight. It is marked by resistance, setbacks, and moments of doubt. But it is also marked by breakthroughs, clarity, and the quiet joy of progress. This book was written for those who are done pretending, for those who are exhausted by performing, perfecting, and pleasing, for those who are tired of shrinking to fit environments that were never designed for their expansion. It is for the person who has achieved goals but still feels empty, for the one who has done everything right but feels deeply disconnected. It is for the one who looks in the mirror and knows they have more to offer the world, but does not yet know how to unlock it. Transformation is not about adding more. It is often about removing what does not belong. It is about unlearning narratives that no longer serve. It is about releasing identities that were adopted for survival, but now hinder authenticity. Becoming more does not mean becoming someone else. It means becoming deeply and unapologetically oneself. Many people fear this process. They fear what others will say, they fear failing, they fear losing what they already have. But the real cost is not in the risk of change. The real cost is in staying the same. Settling for a half-lived life is the greatest loss of all. Nothing is more expensive than regret, and nothing is more painful than the slow erosion of potential. There is a myth that transformation must be dramatic or public. In truth, it often begins quietly. A shift in mindset, a new decision, a boundary drawn, a habit released. These small acts are not minor, they are seeds of revolution. Change does not require a stage. It requires commitment. It requires a willingness to begin where one is with what one has and to keep going even when no one is watching. One of the greatest lies people believe is that they must be ready before they begin. But readiness is a result of movement, not a prerequisite for it. Confidence is built through action, not contemplation. No one wakes up suddenly prepared for greatness. Preparation is forged in the fire of doing. Those who wait to feel ready often spend their lives waiting. Another lie is that clarity must precede courage, that one must know the entire path before taking the first step. But clarity grows through engagement. Purpose becomes visible as one moves forward. There is no map for becoming. There is only the decision to begin and the discipline to keep going. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the refusal to let fear lead. Becoming more will require confrontation. Confrontation with limiting beliefs. confrontation with patterns of self-sabotage, confrontation with relationships, environments, and habits that reinforce stagnation. This is not an easy road, but it is the only road that leads to freedom. Not the freedom to do whatever one wants, but the freedom to become who one truly is. Some may ask, is it worth it? Is it worth losing approval, disrupting comfort, risking failure? The answer is yes, it is worth everything. Because what is at stake is not just productivity or success, it is one's life. One only gets one, and it was never meant to be lived on autopilot. It was never meant to be a performance. It was meant to be real, honest, and whole. The chapters ahead are not formulas, they are not guarantees, they are invitations. Each chapter is a doorway into deeper ownership of one's mind, body, and future. They offer tools, insights, and challenges, but the work belongs to the reader. No book can change a life, but a decision can. And if this book does anything, let it be the spark that ignites that decision. The call to become more will not wait. It will show up in moments of frustration. It will whisper in quiet mornings and echo in sleepless nights. It will challenge mediocrity and provoke discomfort. It will not leave one alone because it is not a voice from outside. It is the voice of who one truly is. To answer the call is not to abandon what has been. It is to honor what has been by choosing what could be. It is to take the raw material of experience, pain, and desire and build something honest, meaningful, and powerful. It is to become a person whose presence is a force for good, not because of perfection, but because of authenticity. There will be resistance. There will be people who do not understand. There will be days when nothing seems to change, but persistence beats resistance. Over time, the effort compounds. Small wins become momentum. Clarity strengthens. Confidence rises. Life begins to align not because circumstances magically shift, but because the person navigating them has changed. This is not self-help for performance. It is not about fixing what is broken. It is about reclaiming what was buried. It is about unlocking what was always there. It is about awakening a deeper, truer self and allowing that self to lead. It is about living fully, intentionally, powerfully, and unapologetically. The call to become more is not a command. It is an invitation, and it is being extended now. The question is not whether the call is real. The question is whether it will be answered. The time to become is now. Chapter 1, The Lie of Limitation. From a very early age, many people are taught boundaries that were never meant to define them. They are told what is possible and what is not, who succeeds and who does not, and what type of life they should settle for. These unspoken messages come wrapped in the words of teachers, family, peers, and even the media. Over time, these messages take root and become beliefs that shape identity, choices, and ultimately outcomes. One of the most dangerous of these beliefs is the lie of limitation. The lie of limitation is not always obvious. It does not come with a warning label. Instead, it wears the face of realism and sounds like wisdom. It whispers, "That is not for someone like you," or "Do not aim too high," or "Be grateful and stop wanting more." It often disguises itself as caution, practicality, or humility. But underneath its mask, it is a form of mental captivity. It convinces people to aim low, settle early, and shrink their dreams before they even try. One of the most painful outcomes of this lie is that it stops action before it starts. A person who believes in their limitations will not invest in their growth, apply for a better opportunity, or start that business idea. They will disqualify themselves in their own mind before the world ever has a chance to. Limitation becomes a lens through which every possibility is viewed and dismissed. Consider the story of Richard Montañez, who worked as a janitor at Frito-Lay. He had no formal business education and no corporate pedigree, yet he dared to see beyond his role. When he noticed that Frito-Lay did not offer products tailored to the Latino market, he created a new snack flavor inspired by Mexican street corn. That idea became Flamin' Hot Cheetos, a billion-dollar product. Richard eventually rose to become a top executive at PepsiCo. His story is a striking reminder that the boundaries most people obey are often illusions. They are walls built from assumptions, not facts. Belief in limitation becomes especially destructive because it operates quietly. People rarely challenge it because they assume it is true. They internalize messages such as "I am just not good with money," "I am not smart enough," or "people like me do not get ahead." These beliefs are often inherited, not chosen. They come from observing a parent struggle financially, being overlooked in school, or being told that ambition is dangerous or selfish. And once accepted, these beliefs become self fulfilling. Psychologist Carol Dweck's work on the fixed versus growth mindset highlights how deeply belief influences performance. People with a fixed mindset believe their abilities are static. They avoid challenges, fear failure, and tend to give up quickly. Those with a growth mindset believe they can improve through effort and learning. They embrace challenges and persist despite obstacles. The key difference is not talent, but belief. Limitation begins in the mind and takes root in the narrative a person repeats to themselves. The education system often reinforces limitation. Children are placed into tracks: gifted, average, remedial, as early as elementary school. These labels stick. A child who struggles in one subject is labeled a poor student overall, even if they excel elsewhere. Over time, they begin to believe they are not smart, and that belief becomes a ceiling on their potential. The system rarely teaches students how to think about their thinking, how to challenge beliefs, or how to reframe failure as feedback. The workplace continues the pattern. Employees are placed in roles and told to stay in their lane. They are encouraged to specialize but not to stretch. Ambition can be seen as threatening. When someone tries to step outside of what is expected, they are often met with skepticism or resistance. The message is clear: do what is safe, stay where you belong, and do not make waves. For many, this becomes a lifelong trap. Yet, limitations are rarely about capacity. They are more often about permission, what people believe they are allowed to want, pursue, or achieve. And that permission is often unconsciously denied. A person may feel pulled to start a creative business, write a book, or move to a new city. But the voice in their head tells them they are too old, too inexperienced, or too unqualified. That voice is not truth. It is programming. Breaking the lie of limitation requires confronting that voice head on. It means examining the beliefs that have shaped one's sense of possibility. Where did they come from? Are they based on evidence or assumption? Are they serving growth or protecting comfort? This process can be uncomfortable because it reveals how many of life's boundaries are self-imposed. But it is also liberating. Once exposed, these lies lose their power. The truth is, the greatest limitations are not external. They are not age, income, background, or education. They are internal: thoughts, beliefs, and stories people carry about themselves. When those are rewritten, the horizon expands. Possibilities that once felt out of reach become attainable. The mind no longer acts as a gatekeeper, but as a guide. Author and speaker Lisa Nichols once said she went from having only $12 in her bank account to building a multi-million-dollar company, not because her circumstances changed overnight, but because her mindset did. She stopped asking for permission to be great. She stopped seeing herself as a product of limitation and started seeing herself as a vessel of transformation. Her decision to rewrite the story she told herself became the key to rewriting her life. This is not about denying challenges. Structural barriers, discrimination, and access do matter. But even within those realities, belief plays a critical role. A person who believes change is possible will seek out options, mentors, and tools. They will persevere where others quit. They will ask different questions and see different solutions. Belief becomes a filter that determines whether a person sees walls or doors. One of the most powerful tools in dismantling limitation is exposure. When people see others who look like them, come from similar backgrounds, or face similar struggles succeed, it challenges the narrative of impossibility. It creates what psychologists call vicarious learning. If they can do it, maybe I can too. This is why representation matters. It does not just inspire, it rewires. Another key to overcoming limitation is language. The way people speak to themselves matters. Saying, "I am not good at this," is very different from "I am still learning how to do this." One closes the door, the other leaves it open. Language shapes identity, and identity shapes behavior. By shifting self-talk from limitation to possibility, a person begins to reprogram their inner dialogue. Limitation also feeds on comparison. When people compare their behind-the-scenes struggles to someone else's highlight reel, they often conclude that they are inadequate. Social media amplifies this by presenting filtered success as normal. But comparing starting points to someone else's peak performance is a distortion. The antidote is self-awareness. Each person has a unique path, pace, and process. Measuring progress against someone else's outcome only reinforces the lie of not being enough. Perhaps the most important step in breaking the lie of limitation is taking action. Not massive, world-changing action, but consistent, intentional steps. Action builds evidence. Each small win becomes proof that the lie was wrong. Confidence is not built in the mind alone. It is earned through experience. When a person does what they once believed they could not, they begin to trust themselves differently. This is not about becoming superhuman. It is about becoming fully human, living free of false boundaries, inherited doubts, and limiting narratives. The goal is not perfection, but progress. The journey is not linear, and fear will still show up. But fear loses its grip when it is no longer believed. The lie of limitation will always offer comfort. It will offer safety, predictability, and excuses. But none of those things lead to fulfillment. The truth is, people were not designed to live small, shrink their vision, or apologize for their dreams. They were designed to grow, to stretch, to evolve. There is no destiny more tragic than the one surrendered to a lie. And there is no victory more powerful than the one where a person reclaims their own possibility. Limitation is not fact, it is fiction, and it can be rewritten. If what you just heard stirred something inside you, do not let that feeling pass. You were not made to live small. You were not meant to settle for a life shaped by fear, doubt, or the lies of limitation. These first 2 chapters are just the beginning. The full book is filled with powerful truths, real-life breakthroughs, and the exact tools you need to unlock the version of yourself that the world desperately needs. Click the link in the description now to get your copy of the book. This is not just a read, it is a roadmap, a guide to help you rise, rebuild, and reclaim your life from anything that ever tried to keep you stuck. Do not wait for the perfect time. This is your time. Click the link below, grab the book, and step into the person you were always meant to be.